Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are having a wonderful day doing whatever makes you happy in your happy space. In today's tutorial, we'll be using a bundle of 12 fat quarters. I have the color scheme here of red, white, and blue. Beautiful colors to work with. I have some whites on my red, and I also will be using the blue one that you're looking at here with the pattern blue on it also. All right. What you would need to do though, before we get into it, is to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you won't be forgotten about looking at the videos and making sure that you keep up to date on what I'm posting regularly. So moving on to the fat quarters, you would need to cut some squares out of your red and your blue, okay? You will also need some yardage of red and some yardage of some blue, and I will show you those as well. In fact, you're looking at the red right there in front of you, okay? So some red yardage and some blue yardage. For your red squares from your fat quarters, you would need to cut them into some squares, and the pattern in the description box will give you all the details and sizes. You'll also need to do that for your blue also, all right? This theme of this country log cabin is going to be red, white, and blue. Absolutely gorgeous colors. You will also be needing to iron. I will definitely say that iron all of your fat quarters so that they come up wrinkle free because you know they are creased and that those creasings take really long to come out. So give it a nice good steam, line it all up, and then you would need to cut some strips after cutting or subcutting your squares. This allowed it to go by very quickly. I am just trimming off the excess here. I wouldn't demonstrate how to cut strips, as I think everybody knows how to do that. But nevertheless, after cutting all of your subcuts for your squares, you then need to cut strips. Okay. Now, this is going to be a lovely quilt. You can just simply use scraps, which I think it will look ideal, and you can use any color for your center squares. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to show you now how to make the block. In fact, I'll show you what the block looks like first, and then we'll move on to making the block. So the next step is to simply just take your blue strip. Now remember, we are alternating the colors. If you start with red, then your strip is going to be blue. And we're going to start by sewing a strip to the top. And then we're going to trim it off. So we're using the sew and trim method. Excuse me. Now, I did cut all of the initial strips to the sizes that I needed before, and I felt that that caused it to bow a little bit. So I decided was to do the sew and cut method, and I think that stopped it from getting a slight bow in the middle. All right. So remember, if you start with red, it's blue. If you start with the blue center, then it's a red strip. Follow it around until you complete the block. We are going to be constantly sewing on the right. So once you sew to the top, you are going to turn. This is what the block would look like once finished. So this is the red, finish with a blue. Red center, finish with a blue strip. Okay, so it's red, blue, red, blue. All right, I hope that makes sense to everybody. All right. And yeah, that's it basically. And once you get onto the other square, which will make it so much more simplified because it's the same method. The only difference is that you're starting with a blue square. Okay, so that's it, guys. But let me show you what that blue square looks like so that you're informed at the top of the tutorial. So that is what it would look like. To sew this together, all you simply need to do is start with the color strips that you've chosen for your center block, and you're going to start by sewing to the top first. And once you're happy with that and it's all set properly and you're lined up, you need to sew, and then simply all you need to do is trim it off at the end. The objective here is to simply sew and cut. Remember, I said I had all the strips measured for the block initially, but I do feel that it just was bowing. So I decided was to use this method instead. So you're going to continuously add on to the right. We are not adding on the strip as though we're making a border around the block. Okay, that's important. And just make sure that you flatten the seam behind so that it folds over nicely and it lays flat. All right, so line it up and then you simply just sew and trim again. So remember, we keep adding to the right all the time until you complete the first layer around the block. Okay, so the first strip around the block. Once that's done, and you completed that with the first red or blue, whatever you start with, then you move on and do the second strip, which must be a different color. Okay. So for example, here, my blue, my center square is blue, so it's red. Then it's going to be blue again. Okay. And then finish with the red. So ideally, your center blue should be one color and your ending or your last strip should be a different color. All right, I hope that makes sense, but you will see all the details in the pattern. But just watch me put it all together so you'll have an idea of how it works. Okay guys, so all the blocks are completed. This is the one we actually made together. As you can see, I've finished with a red around the edges. So blue, red, and if you start in with a red, it's blue, red, blue. Okay, so here are the blocks. It's 5 across and 7 down. So obviously it's 35 blocks in total. Okay. Now you can see my accent colors in the middle there. I've also done one of the blocks as a different block, and I want to know if you can actually figure it out. I'm not going to point it out to you, but I can clearly see it. Okay, it's the same colors, just done it in a different way to what is on the table at the moment. So remember, this pattern is the country log cabin. Okay, so it looks really lovely. So all I'm going to do now is just simply stitch all of these blocks together as they are, and I'm going to add probably 3 borders. So I'm going to keep the color scheme very similar. Now I did try it with the white, and I just think the white was just a bit too much. But you can obviously try white, but I think the blue itself was absolutely beautiful. Blue was what I had in mind originally to do the quilt with. So I think I'm loving the fact that I stuck to my guns really when I pictured it in my head. But yeah, so I'm going to move on now. Add the borders. I'm going to add 3, as I said, borders. So I'm trying to make a really nice big quilt. And I'm going to keep the color scheme very similar to red and blue again. And again, I'm going to keep the backing fabric blue also. As to whether or not I keep the same color as the blue squares, which is a 10-inch squares, may possibly keep the same, but I'll see how I go, because I'm designing it as I make it. So yeah, right, so that's it. Let's do some borders, and then I will show you hopefully the quilt top before I actually quilt it. Absolutely beautiful, absolutely loving it. Looks really good. Excellent color scheme. Actually stitched together. So this is row 7. Okay, now the important thing to remember when stitching together squares is to simply make sure that you pin these intersections here. So this will be my first pin, so obviously I'm going to pin that front sides together, and I'm going to pin it at each intersection because I want these seams to match up there and on the last one over there as well. So that's really important. Now, All right, I gotta admit, this came out bloody fantastic. It looks amazing in person. I think the camera doesn't do any trick at all. The quilt measures 70 by 90. I did a lot of quilting in this. It's beautiful, it's simple. I actually used some of the extra fabric to make a throw pillow cover. It looks amazing. It's just a beautiful quilt. I love the color scheme of red, white, and blue, and it looks amazing. I did add in some little bit of accent fabric in there as well. I hope you can see it. On the back, I use a sort of a reddish pinkish floral, and I again did a piece back in with some of the leftover yardage. But it looks amazing, guys. So beautiful. I'm loving, loving, loving the throw pillow. Look at the quilting on it. Ah, quilting just makes it, doesn't it? Beautiful, beautiful quilt that will do justice to any bed. I hope you like and subscribe for more, and I hope you buy the pattern and make one yourself. It's a country style log cabin. Just amazing, amazing quilt. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Do like and subscribe for more, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye for now. Happy quilting.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry.